Good evening and welcome to CanHammer, your stop for 40k from the Grey White North. Today's show is episode 107, and it is our farewell to 7th edition. We're also going to talk about the new 8th edition rules that got leaked. Darren and I actually had access early, so we've gone through a lot of it, so we'll give you a few tidbits on that one. We're also going to talk about the Slaughterhouse GT, then we're going to do some of your question and answers. And we don't have a Pimp My List because the edition is just too new to pimp. For more information about CanHammer, our YouTube or Patreon, you can visit canhammer.ca. I am your host, Chris, at CanHammerChris on Twitter. I am joined by my co-host, Mr.
Darren at CanHammer_YT on Instagram.
And we have a special guest all the way from North Dakota, Mr.
I'm Pastor Dan Hallwerda with Slaughterhouse GT, representing the Slaughterhouse GT team.
And so we were talking earlier, North Dakota, for those of you that don't know, is the rectangle state in the northwest United States. With a squiggle, right? Right, Dan? Little squiggle?
Yeah, we got a little squiggle on the right, you know. You look between Montana and Minnesota, and we're right there.
Do you think Canadians know less about U.S. geography, or U.S. knows less about Canadian geography?
U.S. knows less about Canadian geography. However, I'm only an hour south of Winnipeg, so I am fairly knowledgeable about Canada.
Ooh, poor you.
I don't think I know where Winnipeg is.
You know
Manitoba.
Winnipeg. Yeah, that's it. So that's it. Darren's from Toronto originally, so he's just like isolated. He doesn't know anything about the rest of Canada either. So that's normal for those Torontonians. So, since it's Dan's first time on the podcast, we're basically going to explore his hobby cred. So, when did you start playing games in the GW hobby, or any other games, or what do you play?
So the GW hobby as a whole, like this whole hobby is Warhammer 40k. I actually only started it maybe a couple months after 7th edition was released. So I've only known 7th edition. But I did a lot of like Pinewood Derby, like wood carving and stuff. So I do a lot of woodworking before this. So that's my background. I'm fairly new to the Warhammer universe.
Well, 7th Ed had a good run anyway, so I'm assuming... what armies did you play in 7th Ed then?
So the very first army that I played, and I played it pretty much religiously, pardon the pun there, I played Space Marines, jumped on with running a dual Skyhammer list for a good portion of 7th, and then I jumped onto the Battle Company train for a long time and ran that. And
Oh, nice.
So Space Marines was my bread and butter. I was just building some Tau and then working on Space Wolves Dog Star list. And I started this Dog Star list, and it's supposed to be Princess Mononoke themed. I've got all conversions and all this stuff. And then 3 months after I got everything, 8th edition was announced.
It might still be playable. You never know. Like,
I don't think Ezekiel's going to go on any stars anytime soon.
Well, you can still take bunches of Fenrisian wolves. You're not going to make a star out of it, though, but you can still use them as screening chaff.
it seemed okay,
Absolutely.
too. So now, would you consider yourself a hobbyist, a gamer, a fluff bunny, or a mix? And if you say mix, which everybody says, what percentage of each do you put yourself in?
If I have to use the term mixed, I'll use the term mixed. But I consider myself a competitive hobbyist / player. If I do anything in this hobby, it's going to be at a competitive level. So the team that I run with is called the Warhogs. We're a very competitive tournament group. So that's what I learned. So when I play at a competitive level to compete to win. That's my goal, is to win the tournament. And I do the same with painting. I went to maybe 10 different tournaments, and a lot of our guys are very focused on winning the competition. And I'm like, well, there's a whole bunch of painting competitions over here. Let's win this too.
Yeah.
So
kind of anything that's competitive. So if they had a competitive fluff quiz, you'd be all over that too.
Absolutely. I think I've got my Imperial Guard army fluff could be competition level.
Sweet. Good stuff. So that's good. So you'll be able to offer a perspective on when we get into the new 8th Ed rules on what you may like or dislike. So we're gonna go next. We got this new segment we're doing. It's a shoutouts and patrons. We're gonna do it up front from now on. So the first shoutout we gotta do is we gotta do Dylan from Multizone. Basically what happened is the stores got their demo copies of all their books and starter sets, and so Multizone and Gatineau actually did without their 8th edition books for 2 to 3 days so that we could have early access to film videos. So Darren can take that away.
Yeah, so basically Dylan's like, yo, dude, my shit came in today. Do you want it? I'm like, yeah. And so literally I drove up there at the end of work day, which was stupid. Like getting across the bridge at rush hour is a bit ridiculous. But anyway, so I got there eventually, picked the stuff up. And if you follow me on Instagram, you see that sort of all this stash in my trunk sort of picture like a drug deal.
Yeah, I saw that actually.
Yeah, so we didn't do anything illegal. That's what people were like. I got so many comments, and nothing illegal happened. Multi-Zone just did without for 3 days while we filmed the videos. And Darren, you pulled some all-nighters, right?
Oh, dude, I was up till 2 or 3 a.m. on those 2 nights just filming because I needed to get that stuff done and I wanted to get it out before everyone else. I think we did pretty well. There were some picture leaks which were kind of blurry and stuff, but I gave people the ability to freeze HD video and take screenies, and so I basically videoed every single page. And yeah, that took me like a couple of nights. Then returned on Friday, and that was it. So, yeah, big thanks to Dylan for giving us that opportunity. And the only thing I also want to mention, so pre-orders are out now. And he wanted me to tell people, and I've already said this on our Facebook and stuff, but for our listeners, if you pre-order from Dylan at multizone.ca, or you can just call him up, I guess, he will give you a sweet discount on your pre-orders.
If you use the CanHammer code. If you use the CanHammer code and you tell them CanHammer sent you.
Yeah, the promo code is CanHammer if you're on the website, or just tell them CanHammer sent you, or you're a big CanHammer fan. And he is also doing split boxes, so if you just want the Death Guard or the Marines, he's going to do that. And he's also going to sell just rule books as well. So if you want any, like one of those particular 3, then let him know when you're putting in your order. But yeah, so I just throw that out there.
Now, due to GW terms and services, this might be only allowed. I think he's only allowed to sell within Canada, but give him a call anyway. The other shout out that sorry, go ahead.
We're not supposed to tell you like what the discount is, but I think most people know.
Well, I think it's a legal one. I'm not sure. Anyway, so the next shout out is we got to say hi to Rodney, which is Richard Cipher on Twitter. Thanks for listening. New patrons. We have Steven, who is at the chapter master level. Thank you very much. And we have Irvin, Harry, and Jimmy, who are now Tactical Marines. Thank you for supporting the show. We really appreciate it. And also, we have a competition going, right, Darren?
Oh, yes. So this was announced maybe a week ago. Yeah, and basically we have an extra starter set, Dark Imperium starter set to give away. So the big box set, $200 value Canadian, to give away to a lucky supporter. So all you have to do to enter the competition is subscribe on YouTube, or follow on Instagram, or follow on Facebook, and there's a post on each social media. There's a YouTube video, there's an Instagram post, and there's a Facebook post. They've all been pinned as much as possible. All you have to do is comment on there with what you're most looking forward to in 8th edition. At the moment, last time I checked, there was almost 400 YouTube comments, similar number of Instagram comments, and maybe almost the same number of Facebook. So I think about 1,200 people have entered already.
So that's still pretty good odds. 1 in 1,200 is better than like roll up the rim odds at Tim Hortons. So
yeah. So and the other thing is, if you're a Patreon subscriber or you join Patreon, you will get 5 entries into the competition. So 5 times the chance to win. And then the competition will remain open until 8 a.m. on June 17th, so release day. And then we're going to announce the winner on our podcast on the following Tuesday. And all ship, and people have asked me a lot of this. I'm going to pay the shipping, so it's going to be completely free to one lucky person.
Awesome. So thank you guys for supporting us. The next thing is that we would like you guys to leave iTunes review if possible. Now, we're not giving away anything. Just if you feel like it, do it. There you go. So we're going to get on to the part of the show where we talk about our hobby progress, and that's what we've been up to in the last couple of weeks within the hobby. So we'll start with Dan. He's new here, and he didn't have anything to say in that last little while. So what are you working on right now? What's on your bench?
On my bench right now is actually a heavy tank that I got from a friend. If anyone knows of the Omega It's a Forge World model with a big giant plasma cannon. You guys have seen that one?
This sounds like something I need to buy.
Yeah,
It is actually a discontinued model. They don't make it anymore.
That's unfortunate.
Yep, the Marquis Omega. They don't make it anymore.
It's the one with the rounded turret, right? Like it's almost like a dome turret. Is that the one?
It's like let me see if I can send you guys a link to it or something like that. But it's like the big, huge gun carriage. Then it's got this big honking plasma cannon on it. It's like 9 inches long. It's huge.
And plasma's good, Nate. Spoiler
Nice.
that could be good. If maybe they'll release rules, maybe they won't. Who knows? I doubt it if it's no longer in production. But they have been very clear
just
about
leaked.
that.
They just leaked the Spartan today, and that laser destroyer is pretty sick.
Save that for news. Okay. Anything else you're working on besides that, Dan?
Working on some Rough Riders as well on a cold one conversion, Dark Elf cold one conversion from the Warhammer Fantasy.
Cool.
So those are the two things that I'm working on. Just trying to get the Guard ready for 8th edition. # make Guard great again.
Oh, I hope so. I have a few lists too. But so, what are you using for the riders? Are you using like Dark Elves or?
So the Riders, I'm actually using a combination of heavy weapon team legs and infantry legs with green stuff, and then I also picked up a couple legs off of Victoria Victoria miniatures.
Okay.
And so they've got some pretty cool legs for the Rough Riders as well. So that's what I'm using for the guards. And then just regular shock troop torsos with my entire guard army has the respirator heads, the environmental hazard suit heads. I think that those look a lot better on the Cadians.
Yeah, they do look a lot better. And you don't have to paint as much skin, which is always nice.
Yes.
Cool. So, Darren, what have you been working on the last couple of weeks besides making crazy videos and stuff?
I've been making videos like a motherfucker, basically. But right before the 40K was announced, I had bought a Garden of Moor, 2 Wildwoods, and a Sigmarite Mausoleum just to make some AOS, like an AOS table, like an undeady kind of AOS table. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that a Sigmarite Mausoleum is just 2 Gardens of Moor. It's a bit annoying. But anyway, so I got all that, and I was about to spray 80 goblins up for my Monster Mash list, and then all the 40K stuff happened, and that stuff has been put aside. And in place of 80 goblins, I now have 80 Gene Stealers ready to be sprayed. And I also need to paint Ulrich and a Wolfguard Battle Leader and my Knight for my various lists that I got floating around. But yeah, mostly I have actually just been making videos like crazy.
Cool. So that goes on to me. I haven't been too busy. I'm working on Castellan Creed because he's really good in the new edition, and I didn't paint him. I have a Steel Legion army, but I'm not going to use them as Steel Legion in 8th Ed. I'm going to use them as Cadians because I think Creed's just really good. He gives you 2 free command points. He's like 70 points, and he does 3 orders. It's a bargain.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bargain.
He gives you 2 command points. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, just by having them.
Well, he has to be your general or your warlord. But
right.
Yeah.
So
it's like Azrael gives one command point for being your jet warlord.
Yeah, and like, Girly Man gives you 3, and there's a few other ones that do, but this is pretty big deal for the guard, especially when you're shooting things like artillery. That reroll, you're going to need 6 rerolls, and you're going to need to like save 6 leadership checks. So part of me is like, you need as many command points for the Astra Militarum as possible. That's what I'm thinking. So if I can go a full brigade detachment plus Creed, that's 14.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about this when we talk about 8th, but I think command points are the bomb.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I actually ordered 2 sets of the command. I made sure, because I figured they'd sell out. I pre-ordered 2 sets of the command dice, and a lot of people are giving me shit for that. Like, oh, it's a waste of money. It's like $40 or whatever. And I'm like, nah, man, because everybody's going to forget to use their command points but me. And that's going to help me win, especially at the ETC, which is 8th edition coming up. So that's been it for Hobby. We'll go to new release and news. There's not a whole lot to talk about. 40K, we're going to talk about this in the main topic. All the books have been basically spoiled at this point, and all the starter sets, which we'll talk about when they come out. But basically, everything's up for pre-order. It's coming out in 1 week, and I'm stoked. Are you guys stoked?
Yeah, just as I mentioned, the Forge World book is out for pre-order as well. So
why don't we talk about the 2 leaked Forge World vehicles, Darren, because you're all over those. There was the Brass Scorpion, and there was
Yeah, so I showed Logan the brass scorpion datasheet because I know he loves his brass scorpion. But so Forge World for pre-order right now is just 2 books: the Imperial Armor, which is the Imperium one, and the is it Xenos or whatever. So they're coming out with Forge World indexes like for each of the big factions again. And so the other 3 have not been announced yet. But so I was just looking at this. So they spoiled the Relic. Of course, I'm interested in the Mastodon, and I have another mini competition going on for how many wounds the Mastodon has. But this thing is a beast. So I'm like, man, I need to buy a Mastodon. I need to buy a Spartan. It's really annoying because I just ordered a bunch from Forge World. Like I've got the Graflux Bombards for my Leviathan, and I pre-ordered the books. But if I knew that if this came out one day earlier, I would have bought a Spartan as well. Yeah. This tank is 8 attacks in close combat. How crazy is that?
But it hits on 5s, correct? 5s or 6s?
It hits on 5s.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's got 8 attacks, and it does like what's this? Crushing tracks, strength 8, -2 AP, D3 damage.
Cool. So I don't think there's too much else. AOS is being taken a back burner to 40K, so we're going to move on from news. Yep. And one of the real reasons Dan came on is he's going to plug the Slaughterhouse GT. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Dan, to tell us all about it.
Oh, sweet. Thank you, man. And this is just an amazing episode to be able to do that on as we're going from 7th edition to 8th edition. And when 8th edition really started to leak out, we as Slaughterhouse GT were the first that I know of to say, you know what, we are running 8th edition for sure. It doesn't matter when the date comes. So Slaughterhouse GT is going to be in July 15th and 16th in Grand Forks, North Dakota. So that's something that we're really excited for. We did a lot of primer tournaments the last year and a half to gauge interest to see if we could actually maintain that type of event. And now we're at the point to where it's like, okay, it's showtime. Let's give this a try and let's continue to build up the event.
So what point level are you running, or what kind of detachment limit and things like that?
So right now we're doing a lot of test playing within our group. We don't have an official point limit, but we're probably going to be doing 2,000 just by some of the side chatter that's going on right now. Frankie and Reese said that they test played at that point level, so that weighs very heavily, in our decision to try to do that. I would assume, ballparking that we would do 2,000 points, 3 detachments going on. Everything has to be battle forged according to the rules. One of the big things we've been talking about is Forge World models. Do we allow them in the tournament or not? Mm-hmm. And right now we're kind of leaning towards we're going to go off of the Frontline Gaming's banned list. So if it's banned currently in Frontline Gaming, then it's not going to be allowed. And then if you can get rules for stuff that are not on that list, you're allowed to play them at the tournament if you have the new Forge World rules for it. If you don't, then it's not allowed.
And that's assuming that the points come out and all that good stuff as well.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, so if you've been listening to Frontline and their 3-hour-long epic Q&A or whatever, now that they're off NDA, they did basically say that ITC is just going to be straight rulebook, so 2,000 points, 3 detachments, match play sort of stuff.
Yep, and then they're going to be using the 6 scenarios from the rulebook, so we'll probably end up using those too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I think we're thinking the same thing for Capital City in August, is just go straight rulebook, keep it because it's going to get old eventually going straight rulebook, but not for 6 to 8 months, right? So
absolutely. And then that gives everyone time to play it and then come up with their own thing, just like Renegade Open did and Nova did, where they came up with their own scenario packets.
Mm-hmm. So now this is I don't know if you mentioned it's 2 days, 5 games or 6 games, or how many?
Right now we have 6 games going on, but it will be over 2 days. We're in a really nice bar called The Eagle, which is in this area. Just amazing food for a great price. It's not the type of food that you're going to go, man, I just paid $15 for a crappy burger. It's like $7 for a good burger, pricing. And so we're planning on doing 6. If we need to, we'll go to 5. The big thing we're not sure of is, are we going to blow through all of our time on Saturday and then have 5 extra hours to do gaming?
Yeah.
You might. I mean, geez, it's a fast game.
Yeah.
Yep.
That could be good, though. I've heard a lot of chatter about that in a lot of the ETC forums. Like, do they go 3 games per day? And, I think we've talked about this before on this show, is the more games that you play, the more fair the outcome. I was actually just watching a really good Vice piece on like sports and which sports are more luck-based and more skill-based and things like that. And one of the major factors coming into whether a sport is more skill or luck-based is the amount of games that they play. So the more games that you play in a season, the more that contributes heavily towards being less luck-based, right? Because you have to consistently win.
Absolutely.
So like single elimination tournaments and things like that are very luck-based. Whereas if you could have like a 10-game GT in 3 days, let's say, like or Saturday you do 5 games and then you do 3 on Sunday, even that extra couple games, like if you go to a big Magic the Gathering tournament, which I've never been, this is just what I've been told, so I could be a bit wrong, that it's perfectly normal to drop 1 or 2 games and still be fairly highly ranked, right? So just because of the volume of play. So I'm definitely in for that. I would love to get back to doing like 4-game 1-day tournaments that end at a reasonable time and start like at 9 o'clock, right?
Yeah, and I want to do a huge shout out to the Renegade Open team. They have been so supportive of getting us to where we are. We owe Puck and Dave a lot. And, I'm saying that because I'm going to say this next. They did 4 rounds on Saturday and then 2 on Sunday. And I think about 10:30, 11 o'clock, me and my opponent are there on round 4, and he's just making mistake after mistake because he's so tired. So I agree with you 100%. It'd be nice for them to be quick games to where you're getting done at a reasonable hour where you're still awake to play competitively.
Yeah, and like it is nice if you could drop a game. Like that's, I know there might be somebody that doesn't drop one, but it's very unlikely that somebody's going to go 9 games all wins in a row type thing. But just my 2 cents. So I guess we can, thanks for plugging the Slaughterhouse GT. Is there a website that you want to?
Yeah, there absolutely is. It would be a lot easier if you just Googled Slaughterhouse GT, because we are using a free website link, and it's one of those links that just makes you go, oh my God.
.blogspot.gov.org.
Yeah, so you just Google Slaughterhouse GT. I can give it to you guys later if you want to put it in the description or something like that too.
Yeah, sounds fair enough. And so now we're going to move on to our main segment. This is going to be a little bit of a reminiscent. We're doing our farewell to 7th edition. So we're going to talk about what we liked, what we disliked, and then as soon as we're done, putting the last nail in the coffin, we're going to talk about the new rules and our take on those as well. So stay tuned. If you're not interested in saying goodbye to 7th edition, then you can fast forward a little bit. But so I'll start with you, Darren. What are you going to miss about 7th, or what did you like about 7th? Or what was your whole 7th Ed feel?
Yeah, you know what I really like that we're not going to get anymore is actually the mixing of factions. And I know that's controversial opinion because you have things like Tavdar and, especially if you allow Come the Apocalypse, all sorts of crazy stuff. But I'm going to miss the fact, not only that I can't use my Riptide Wing with my Lion's Blade, but I'm going to miss the fact that you could like mix stuff, like the ability to play all these sorts of things together. That's one thing I'm going to miss.
Okay, so
I'm going to miss my free transports.
Okay, well, I was going to say one thing, and we'll go on to Dan. Dan, what's something you're going to miss about 7th?
I'm just going to be selfish on this one. I'm really going to miss being able to put 10 free Rhino chassis on the board. I'm very heartbroken that I now have a parking lot of Rhinos that I might not be able to field anymore.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Dude, it's hitting me so hard right now. Like, I know. Like 100 points for frigging transport. I'm just, not only is it not free, but it's expensive. I'm just dying. I'm dying.
So something I'm going to miss is I'm going to actually miss, and I know that it wasn't the best, but I'm going to miss the interaction on the Psychic phase. It's something that I definitely missed from 8th edition Fantasy going into Age of Sigmar, and I'm also going to miss it now, is I liked being able to have a pool of dice, choose the spells that you want to cast, and then choose your targets. So you would, like, if you're going to cast it on a unit that has maybe a bunch of Psychers in it, you try to draw out their dice, and then you cast on it so they don't have enough to stop you. I'm going to kind of miss that aspect of the game. Now, I know it was very toned down and muted compared to, like, Fantasy was, where it was, like, direct casting and dispel scrolls and things. But, you know, the new edition is going strictly to I cast. And you can stop it. It's very unlikely. But there's no real dynamic. Like, there was times when I'd be literally just, like, waiting for you to throw your dispel dice, or I shouldn't say that, your warp charge, and then I would go and, like, save a couple dice to get a nasty spell off on you, or psychic power. I'm kind of mixing the lingo between the two games now, but I'm going to miss that. So we'll go back to you, Darren. What's something else besides your free everything you're going to miss?
I'm going to miss, actually... I guess I'm not going to miss it because it's continuing, but I really liked where the fluff was going in like the last 6 months. And I guess so, as I said, we won't miss that because I think it's going to continue. But I just liked how they just started to sort of move everything along. And I liked, so I'm going to miss that sort of sense of there's some shit happening because now we know that the shit has already happened.
Yeah. I guess, the big transition is over, I think is what you're trying to say. Like, they've done the killing. Cadia's gone. It's in our hearts. And they've moved on. And so now we're going to be in a new world. And I know it's going to progress, but it's not going to be as, like, major.
Yeah. It was like every few weeks there was, like, something else crazy happening, you know? And, like, I remember opening the second or third book and just looking through the fluff and was like, okay, what happened to this guy? And where'd Cypher go? And, yeah.
Dan, is there anything else that you're going to miss?
I'm going to miss the twin-linked rule.
Oh, yeah.
As we know and loved it.
Because it is now dead. So, re-rolls. Re-rolls everywhere. Another thing that I'm going to miss is... It's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm going to miss characters and units just because I'm not saying that it was good for the game, because it obviously wasn't, and it's one of those things that maybe is on the line between miss and not miss, but part of me does just kind of miss that aspect of the game, mainly when you start talking about things like Astra Militarum, where it's like, my platoon commander is now like an elite choice that's a character on his own. It's kind of a bit... It's just kind of sad, like, that he can't use his, like, guardsmen as meat shields as much. Like, you still can, it's just not the same. Darren, yeah. Oh, keep going. Darren, you got another one?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if I have another one.
Okay, well, we'll move on. Dan, you got another one you're going to miss?
Vehicles being and other things being able to go through the terrain. Now you got to go around it. That's going to be a very different change to not be able to get a cover save for your vehicle like that.
Yeah. The one thing that...
Yeah, but now vehicles actually have saves. So.
Yeah,
that is true.
So, there's not much. I'm, like, as far as, like, missing, I think I'm at the edge. Like, I'm going to miss the fact that I designed armies for 7th edition. But I think we're going to move into the things that we're not going to miss. So, Darren, why don't you take that away? What's something you're not going to miss?
I'm not going to miss independent character shenanigans.
Like Death
Stars and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to miss that at all.
Dan, what do you?
I won't miss that either. I know you said you're going to miss that psychic phase. I am not going to miss that psychic phase at all. One of the worst things in the world is sitting there in front of a guy with like 100 plus pink horrors and 30 some dice, and he's just summon. Oh, now I have 1,000 more points on the board. Yeah. It's like, nope, I'm not going to miss that at all.
No, I could definitely see that. I'm not going to miss Null Deploy.
Oh, Null Deploy.
That's interesting. I thought you would miss that.
Well, just I used it doesn't mean that I think that it's good for the game. Like, I can, if you think about the game like you're playing to win a chess game, Null Deploy was the most frustrating thing. It allowed those, let's be honest, Eldar jet bikes are only good if you Null Deploy. Well, sorry, they're good all the time. They're good all the time, but I'm just saying, like, if you had to start them on the board, they're gone. Or more of them are gone. But, like, when I would Null Deploy, it's like I would come in and just wash people's army, like, just destroy so much. And I think, like, the people that was like, oh, you go first, oh, I have nothing on the board, you do nothing, okay, all my drop pods come in, or one drop pod comes in, or Scalpel Squadron. I think that just pissed people off, and it just frustrated people, and I'm glad it's gone.
And it created an interesting challenge to prepare your army for. I know when I was first learning the game, Trent Norrington, who's a great buddy of mine, and he just won Bug Eater, he was running Skyhammer and then just jet bikes. And it was just a really fun but annoying list to play against.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I loved using it, and it took me places, but it's just the matter of I sometimes I take a step back and go, that's not good for the hobby. Darren, is there something else that you're not gonna miss?
I don't know if we're gonna see this in 8th, but I'm not gonna miss spam. Like 200 zombies or 60 warp spiders or 400 jet bikes or any number of spam lists. 80 Fenrisian wolves. I'm not going to miss spam, although I suspect we may see some spam.
I think we are. I think spam is not going to go away. I think Death Stars are going to. I think spam is going to be there because there's always going to be better units. The charts don't benefit you from taking variety. I think if you don't like spam, I think you're going to see a lot of it. So you better make what's that Hawaiian sushi they make with spam? You better get used to eating that stuff.
At least until the codices come out, that might change some things too.
Oh, I really hope they don't. Yeah. Anyway,
but it's the more that they make viable, the less incentive there is to spam. I guess is like so if you're. If like warp spiders are just as good as, well, they're not swooping hawks, let's say, but if they're similar in power level, I think you're more likely to see somebody take one of each just for tactical flexibility. So as long as they continue to balance the game out, the spam should go away a little bit, but...
Yeah, I hope they really... I mean, we started to see it already. I saw it last night. Models that I never even heard of or seen before. But I hope we keep seeing that.
So, Dan, what's something else you're not going to miss from 7th Ed?
I'm not going to miss how vehicles were pinned. You can get pinned and then they just explode, and that's it. I think I'm not going to miss that.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm not following.
One of the very first games that I played, I had this real nice Land Raider that a buddy of mine...
Penetrated. Okay,
yeah,
sorry. I heard
penetrating
pinned.
hits.
Okay.
Penetrating hits.
Never mind. I understand what you're saying. I heard pinned, and I was like, I don't think they got pinned, but I could be wrong. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, penetrating hits. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so like my first experience with that was I used to run a Land Raider in my list, and I was running a single. This is before I knew anything about formation, just running a single CAD. And a buddy of mine comes down with a multi-milta team, and he just shot right into it. And he's just like, "All right, well that's gone." And I'm like, "Wait, what? What just happened? It's a big tank. Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah,
just like that."
I second that 100%. I think that to that extent, armor values as well. Like, good thing they're gone. Like wounds and say, like it used to be kind of funny, like. When Gargantuan monster creatures came out, and then they had like let's say a night like a big vehicle, the monstrous creature was always better, just because it had a save, toughness, wounds. You couldn't one shot it, and so I'm so glad that that's gone as well.
It's nice to be on equal footing.
So the number one, this is probably the number one thing that I exploited, and I'm not going to miss, and that's 2+ invulnerable saves, rerolling 1s.
Yeah. So unkillable things.
Unkillable things. That is not fun. Well, I guess I'll save that one. But yeah, like things that had saves or that mathematically it was not worth shooting them ever. Yeah. That's just not fun. People would just quit. Like I know people that quit over that. So.
Yeah.
So one thing I am definitely not going to miss is all the different mechanics that just killed your thing outright. So stomp. Instant death, force, all these mechanics that basically just took your model off no matter what. Definitely, especially if it took off multiple models or whole units in one go. So I think Stomp was probably the number one culprit, but I'm not going to miss that.
D, yeah.
Yeah.
D, oh yeah, D. Especially once Ynnari got started with all the like troubleshooting Wraith Knights and stuff. Oh yeah, I'm not going to miss that stuff.
I'm so glad they got rid of Ynnari too. Sorry, Dan, it's your turn, but I'm so glad Ynnari are just 3 models now. So, what else are you not going to miss, Dan?
I'm not going to miss the feeling of having someone pick up all their models when I'm shooting them with grav cannons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to miss that feeling. That's that was a horrible feeling.
And I said it earlier, but I'm not going to miss invisibility. That goes with the 2+ save. That was just a horrible power that ruined the edition. Just the ability to be like, oh, you can't shoot this one unit. It's just not fun, as I said. So is there anything else that you guys are going to miss, or not going to miss, or miss if you thought of something?
I'm not going to miss all the books.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So is
not
that it?
Miss templates.
Yeah, I'm not gonna miss templates either.
I already threw mine out.
Did you throw them out?
And mine were like custom Dark Angels templates. I threw that shit out already.
Why didn't you just frame them? Just frame them on your wall.
Frame them.
Oh, somebody's phone's going.
Yeah, that's me.
I'm surprised you actually threw them out. I have mine in a bin, even my fantasy dice and stuff. I don't know why I keep everything. I'm a loser. But
no, I've still got my stuff too. I'm gonna miss using my templates because we got custom club templates that and then now it's just like, well, we'll frame them probably.
Yeah, you should frame them with some dice and maybe a model from your army and a photo. Yeah. And if you just carrying books.
7th edition.
Yeah,
like a memorial plaque.
That'd be awesome. And you could have it people that maybe were good at 7th and then they suck at 8th. You could they could win it at events. So I guess
I'm keeping all my codexes, so I don't know why, but I'm keeping them. Just
pictures.
I went on my iPad and I went select all in iBooks, delete, and I have so much space on my iPad now because you just don't need them. It's pretty good. So I guess I think that's it. Is there any last minute ones? Miss or no. So we can have a moment
farewell
of silence.
To 7th.
Do. What's the
moment of silence?
Do. I can't even do the trumpet noise. So we're gonna end with that. Goodbye 7th edition. We will miss you. I think all three of us enjoyed the hell out of it, right?
Oh, I loved it. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for 7th edition. It's the only edition I think
it was a good edition for me to get back into the game. But by the end of CanHammer team tournament, I was like, goodbye 7th. I was like, whew.
Well, that was part of it. The Yunari put over the top. I put 7th edition as my second favorite 40k edition ever. 5th edition, of course, would be number 1 because 5th edition was the edition where you couldn't stop playing and you couldn't stop getting the new players in. And I felt like 7th started that. It just didn't get the momentum because of model count. I think that was a major barrier. So we're going to move on to our 8th edition talk. We're going to try to keep this. We're going to talk a little bit about army, what were units and some stuff that we kind of like. But we're going to keep this to the core rules, command points. And we're going to kind of do a quick overview because there's a lot of people out there that have maybe scanned them, and we'll just kind of just more about what our take on the different phases are and whether we like them or not, or what we maybe don't like. So I'll start off with you, Darren. 8th edition. You want to start talking about the rules? The movement phase, I think, is the first one that comes up, so it shouldn't take long.
Yeah. So before I just talk about that, if our listeners don't know already, I have already put up a how to play video on our YouTube channel. It covers mostly just the core rules, so not how to make an army and all that stuff. And it's meant as an introduction to people who've never played 40k. You can literally watch this video and now you know how to play. And it's not 10 videos like how to play 40k 7th edition.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
If you're returning to 40k, or if you haven't seen a lot of the league rules and you want to know what you're going to be up against, it's also I've made efforts to sort of point out what's changed and why is it still tactical and stuff like that. So people can check that out.
And it is awesome, by the way. I just watched that again today when I was at work. So I loved it. It was great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, because I had the rules all with me, so I took the opportunity to make all these videos.
Yeah. So, and we'll try to go over some of the maybe things that people are getting wrong or some controversy, I guess you could say. So the movement phase is different now, right, Darren? It's just everything has its own movement value. You move, you're not slowed by difficult terrain. That's it, right? If you fly, you have 2 values. You have a minimum and a maximum. Why don't you get into that, Darren?
Yeah, so every unit has their own movement. You don't have to worry about terrain at all, other than the fact that you might have to go around. All that dangerous, difficult, skilled rider, immobilizing a rhino, all that shit is gone. It's so much. It's refreshingly fast. And then now run is now advanced, and now you do that right in your movement phase. So if you know you're not shooting or charging anything, you just roll your dice and do it all at the same time. So that's awesome. Just like Age of Sigmar, it's super sped up.
Well, it's cleaner. The less times that you're touching a unit, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, roll the dice. This unit moved 10 inches. They were on the 12-inch line. Like, that's it. There is no, like, fidgety crap.
Yep. And so, as you mentioned, flyers that are actually like planes and stuff have a minimum movement and a max movement. They can make 190-degree turn, and that's it. That's their rules. And then things that are fly. So this has confused a few people. Things that are flying but are not flyers just move like normal, except they have two advantages. One, they can just pass over models in terrain, and two, if they fall back, so they retreat, then they can still shoot. So those are the two advantages of being flying, not a flyer.
Yeah, but that's just like Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing to note is that, people have been asking a lot, well, mine says jetpack under the keywords, or mine says jump pack. Where's the rules for that? Well, there's no rules for that. So these are keywords that GW has written probably so they can use them in the future, but they don't come with a universal special rule unless it says it right on your datasheet. So like jump packs, everybody who comes with jump packs, it says in their datasheet can move 12 if you have a jump pack, can count as flying, blah, blah, blah. But yeah.
It's much cleaner, and the thing about the keywords is there might be a character that's like all jump packs within 12 inches get this bonus. And that's it.
Yeah,
or transports, right? Some transports can carry jump packs, and so it's important then if you're a jump or whatever. But people will be like, "Oh, my Tau guy, what does the jetpack do? Can I still shoot and jump?" And it's like, no, there's no rules for keywords. There might be, but coming.
Not right now.
Not right now. Yeah, not right now.
Yeah, throw away all your previous things. So a couple of the issues.
You really have to approach this game like forget, almost like you have to forget about 7th completely, and like you'd almost be at more of an advantage if you're just completely new.
It's a completely
almost
different
like
game.
Baggage. Yeah.
So while we're on the movement phase, one of the I say controversy just because it's clickbait, but is the drop pods. So the way the drop pod rule states is that it can come down at the end of the movement phase, and the models that disembark from it and the drop pod have to be 9 inches from an enemy. Yep. So here's the question, and can they move and advance when disembarking from a drop pod? Dan, you want to take that one? What's your opinion?
No, I don't. My understanding of the rules is the drop pods come in after the rest of the movement phase has already happened. So you're already dropping down on the board, and you have to be 9 inches away. Then you can place the models outside just like you normally would. But after that, they don't get to just move and double time it after that. They can charge.
They can charge and shoot.
Yeah,
I totally agree. It specifically says at the end of the movement phase, and that means after you've moved everything. And I also think it's important that you make sure that people are going to put, this is what I can foresee people doing. They put their drop pod and their unit down on the board, measure the 9 out, and say, okay, it's not there yet. I'm going to now move my army, and then I'm going to place that at the end, right? Because sometimes instead of making them measure it out, I think that's what you're going to see a lot of. But you still have to distinguish that it's at the end. It's after everything else moved. So,
yep.
But I think that's a tip for newbies. If you're going to take the drop pods, put the pod down first and just say it's not coming down till the end. So you make sure your measurements are dead on.
The obvious intent of that was that clearly nothing else. The obvious intent is that you have a long charge and you can shoot. So just saying, it's like the same thing that happened when Librarius Conclave came out, and people were like, at the end of the psychic phase, does that mean it's still in the psychic phase, so my other dudes can still do it after the guy who channels? And it was like, no, so it's the same kind of English.
Yeah, that's the one thing. There's no definition of the start of the psychic, the start of the movement phase, and the end. But I definitely agree with that. So we'll move on. What's the next phase? We got shooting, correct?
Psychic.
Oh, sorry, psychic. Yeah, I know. I see. Big.
We just talked about it.
So the psychic phase has some really cool elements. It's basically like Age of Sigmar. You roll 2d6 for most things. Some people can only roll 1d6 to cast. That's usually in your unit entry, but the default is 2. Now, if you're playing in match play, which I think all of us are, you cannot duplicate any powers except for Smite.
Yeah.
So Smite is basically 18-inch range, D3 mortal wounds. And so that's one of the best things about 40k that I think they took out of... Age of Sigmar, you can only cast I can't remember the name of it now. You can only cast Arcane Bolt once in your whole Psychic phase, and I really like that now I have 4 Psychers, I can do it 4 times, just if you're up on my grill, it just it adds that element to the Psychers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's important to note that, it targets the closest, so you can't snipe people with it.
What do you mean? It targets the closest unit, right?
Yeah, so you can't pick like some guy back there.
Yeah. Last night we played it wrong. My librarian got sniped out, but you can't do that.
Cool. And then, so one of the cool things, too, is that a lot of the factions have their own, lore. And so I should have said this, I don't miss having, 15,000 spells that people roll for, and they have to, write them all down, and then they forget because they had this spell last game, so in this, you just pick, or you can roll, but I think most people are going to do pick. And as far as I can tell, every single race, not Tau or some of the other ones that have Psychers, they have 3 spells usually. That's it for the whole faction.
Yep.
I love that.
So it's simple, it's easy. Some of the ones to note, my favorite one is that the Orcs have a teleport spell. I believe it's a 7+, but they have modifiers to their weird boys get modifiers depending on how many Orcs are nearby. And you can basically pick up an Orc unit or Bike unit and put them anywhere on the board 9 inches away from the enemy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's
really good. 30 boys, and so the reason I love that is you take 30 boys in a straight line in front of the enemy's army, you now have a meat shield. You can now protect. If the guy's running 4 Night Titans, I can now put those guys there, stop you, and then you can't charge my Stompa with all 4.
Right. The other good thing is that, by and large, from what I could see from reading through all the books, the psychic powers are actually pretty good. And none of them are really stupid, right? Like moving scenery or whatever. Yeah, they're all -1 to hit or +1 to this or reroll or something like decent. Yeah. So they're all useful, and I think it's really nice that depending on who you're playing, you could pick whatever power you think might be the most useful.
Well, I think if you're going to pick, you have to put it in your army list. Dan, what do you think of that?
If you're going to pick...
Recent Frankie said that you just kind of pick before the game.
Yeah, because in Age of Sigmar, you don't have to pick your spells when you're building your battle line. So I would agree with that when you get to there, you can say, all right, I'm doing this one and this one.
Okay, so you guys would prefer an element of tactical flexibility when it comes to powers, depending on your opponent.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll go with the consensus if that's what Frontline's doing. I'm okay with that.
But I can see what you're saying too, where you have to say these are what these guys know. Yeah, I could get on that train as well.
Because from my perspective is if you want redundancy, I know you can only cast a spell once per turn, but I would need 2 weird boys with that spell on it if I need the teleport in my list, and then maybe I need a 3rd for +1 attack. I think it adds a design element to your list, and it also stops it from. I like things written in your list just because it's clear, and then there's no BS, I guess you could say. One of the big things about 7th edition is there was a lot of BS around psychic powers and who had what and what went off, and I would like it if it's clear, it's in, you go to BCP, it has the guy's spells on it, everybody knows exactly what he had done.
As I'm listening to this side of things, I think I'm going to actually bring this before our council and kind of see what we want, how we want to rule on that, because I see the merit in that too.
Yeah, it just cleans it up. But, I don't care what people do. You run an event, you do what you want. Anything else for Psychic Phase that we missed there, Darren? Perils is back. I mean, I shouldn't say back.
Oh, Perils is sweet.
Yeah.
Perils is sweet.
So what does that do, Darren?
So just a couple of... So if you rolling your 2d6 and you roll 2 1s or 2 6s, so natural 2 1s or natural 2 6s, not modified 2 or 12. That's very clear from the rules. Then you peril. You take D3 mortal wounds, which have no saves, unless you're Nurgle. And then if you die from that, you explode, and everyone within 6 inches takes another D3 mortal wounds, which is just crazy.
I think it's cool.
So yeah, Peril says bite.
It's rare though. It's rare. But you have to plan for it, and I like that. And the weird boys,
last night.
They can peril easier because they have modifiers to it, but they have a special rule that counter your other rule that they can actually blow up easier, which is good because they're orcs. They should blow up.
Yeah, well, it happened last night. Boxcars and 3 mortal wounds on the Hive Tyrant.
Well, it should say also that Smite, if you roll higher on Smite, you have the opportunity with a 10 plus to do D6 mortal wounds instead of D3.
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So, and in this game right now, there's not a lot of sources of mortal wounds. I mean, my whole Dark Angels army has one source. So, anything that you can just throw out, casting cast of 5 and does D3, like that's pretty good.
Well, it's huge for a lot of guarantee. I need that 1 wound off that Night Titan. Gone. There's no messing about. That's why I like it. Sorry, Dan, cut you off.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's pretty much the same thing I was going to say.
Cool.
But you do require some planning because it's got to be the closest, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Night Titans should be easy. They should always be the closest. But that's also another point too. You teleport things up. You can jump, put your battle wagon up there, and you want to stop the smites. You teleport a unit of orcs in front. You're now safe. So we're going to go on to shooting phase. Who wants to take that one away? Darren?
I really like with the shooting phase that now your guys can actually shoot at different things like they would in a fight. I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
and this means that people are going to start taking different weapons and shit, right? We're going to see tactical squads that are truly tactical with a melt-a-gun and a las cannon or something, right? Not the spam kind of attacks, So I think that's going to be really cool. And people are like, "Oh, it's going to slow the game down." Well, no, because you have to roll for those separately anyway. So,
yeah, it shouldn't. My las cannon shooting your tank. My bolters are going to shoot your grots. Done.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's really nice too, because then you have to plan ahead and you have to gamble. Do I want 6 tactical guys shooting into this and 4 shooting at that, or what if they fail? Which one do I want to guarantee I can get out of the way? You have to really plan ahead.
Yeah.
And the way that they've made the weapons so that, multiple damage is not good for infantry, blah, 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 it's really not really something you have to think a long time about, unless you have nothing else to shoot at, you're shooting your las cannon at something with multiple wounds, you're shooting your bolters at chaff,
So let's explain that, what you just said.
It's great.
So unlike Age of Sigmar, the wounds don't carry over. The damage, you should say. So actually, let's take a step back. So ballistic skill is no longer a value. It's just the number. So 3+, 2+, 4+ to hit. And then strength and toughness is the same as before. You roll a wound after you've rolled a hit. And if you have higher strength than the enemy's toughness, you basically wound on a 3+. If you're is it double or more than double?
Double, yeah.
No.
So
double.
If you're double or more, you get a 2+ to wound, and if you're basically under the toughness value, it's a 5+ to wound, and if it's more than double, it's a 6+, and you always wound on a 6+. And then, of course, every weapon has a damage characteristic, which is how many wounds that shot does. And so now, go ahead, Darren, sorry.
Yeah, so it also has armor penetration is no longer a blanket getting rid of armor save. So AP -2 now is like Rend and AOS. So if you're a 2+ save, you go to a 4+ save. So even when I'm hit with this crazy exocrine crazy cannon, my Marines still get 6+ saves as opposed to just being dead. Well, they're basically dead anyway. But so that's what the armor penetration is now. No more sort of wiping out armor. And then so then if you fail your save, then you take the damage, which might be 1 or it might be multiple, like 3 or D6 or something. And so the multiple damage. So say I hit your guy with a las cannon, and I roll my damage, and I roll 6. If he's got 1 wound, he takes all 6 on that 1 dude. It doesn't spill over. The other 5 are wasted. And that's the other thing about mortal wounds. Mortal wounds spill over. So if I do 6 mortal wounds to you, those spill over onto the rest of the unit, whereas normal damage does not. So it's inefficient to use a las cannon to shoot, a 1 wound like infantry model.
Yeah, for sure. I like this a lot. I think it's good. Part of me wishes the damage spilt over, but then I think you just have too much die.
Yeah.
So you like the shooting phase, Dan? Or are you on the fence? Or
No, I'm 100% on board with the shooting phase. I'm excited to get a couple test games in and see how much I'm gonna like it. But just what I've seen on paper and what I've seen in test play, I am totally digging this shooting phase.
Cool. So we'll go on to Salt.
So one more One more thing, because Dan, you were lamenting the death of twin linked. So, having played my formerly twin linked heavy bolters last night, it actually makes the game a lot faster because I just take 6 dice and roll them. Don't have to re-roll anything. And so, if a lot of your army's twin linked, like a battle company or a bunch of Ravenwing, it makes it a lot faster.
Oh, I believe that absolutely. You're only picking up the dice once rather than 6 times.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of one thing you got to get over is a lot of people when it comes to weapons choices is they really changed the way weapons work. So you have to read some of the unit entries very carefully. Whereas like some things is like it has 2 bolters, some it's like twin bolters. Like one of the big ones was like a pair of lasher tendrils, which I know is combat phase. I'm getting ahead. It's just a good example. Is it used to be you'd buy a pair of them. Now you just buy lasher tendrils, and you actually replace your 2 magma cutters, which is 2 separate guns, for lasher tendrils, which is 1 profile entry. So there's a lot of weird things like that. So you have to be very careful when you're reading these entries to really clear up which guns they have and how many shots they get.
Yeah, the Carnifexes were like that. You buying them in pairs, but that's like a single attack.
It's a single entry, so even though it says pair, you don't double the entries. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it was confusing yesterday. Yeah.
So you have to get used to stuff like that. So I guess because I want to move along quickly to get to some of our thoughts on cool stuff, is the assault phase basically like before. You roll 2d6 and you go.
Oh, it's now charge phase and fight phase, those separate phases.
And the big thing is that when you still have to declare your targets. Sorry, I kind of like had a brain for it. You have to declare your targets, so you have to choose which units you're going to charge. And those are the only ones that you're eligible to charge. So Age of Sigmar, you roll the dice, you move. 40k, you have to be like, I'm going to charge those 3 units. Now, those 3 units get to do Overwatch if you declare them. Now, if you only declare 1 unit, it's the only one that gets to Overwatch. Unless, of course, it has somebody in base-to-base with it or whatever. So the order of your charges really matter, and which units you declare you're charging really matters as well. So you won't see a lot of like frivolous like tying in 3 or 4 units. I think you're going to see a lot of people declaring 1 unit on 2 or 1 unit on 1. And then what do you think about that?
What it does allow you to do, though, is let's say you want to charge, you could charge 2 people, one's 8 inches away and one's 3 inches away. So if you fluff your roll, you can still get in somewhere. But you do take 2 Overwatches for that.
Yeah. And you only have to get within an inch, which is a big thing. You do not have to make base to base. You just have to get within an inch. So this brings up controversy number 2, which is it'll go back to our drop pods. When a unit comes out of a drop pods, they have to be more than 9 inches away. But they only have to get within an inch of the enemy. You still need to roll a 9 because you have to be more than 9. You have to get within an inch. It's always a 9 roll to charge.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to clear that up. There was a few guys online talking about needing 8s and people fudging it. And I'm like, if it's anything like Age of Sigmar, you just know if the guy doesn't roll a 9, he's not in. Unless there's modifiers, of course. But
people need to be like a little bit like stumping stupid. Come on.
I agree. I just want to put that out there. I just want to put that out there that you just have to roll the 9.
Dick,
So
clearly the rule is meant to be played like that. Like, don't be a dick.
Okay.
Yeah, the other. So in the what's interesting is you can't charge anybody you didn't declare as a target. You have to stay outside of that inch.
Yeah, which is a big deal. I love that you have to stay an inch away.
So you can't kind of pull people in on the charge, but you can still pull people in on the pile in the fight phase. Apparently, according to Reese.
Yeah. I believe you can as well. That's how I read it as well. Yeah. And now the wicked thing about this is that when you charge, you get to what?
Oh, man. Oh,
this attack
killed me
first.
last night.
Oh,
this killed me last night.
And power.
I love it.
There's no initiative order. It's just like you charge, you go first, and then once all the charges are done, then we take turns activating units.
It's the best.
But if you charge, it's your turn. You still get to pick the first one to go first in the alternating.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I think that's
it's so hardcore.
I think that's needed. I think if you really read through this game, there's a lot of shooting, and not a lot of combat. And I think the combat armies needed this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I still believe that 80% of the game is going to be shooting.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you can overwatch multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you can make it through all the shooting that the Tau will have. You deserve to be able to get that first hit in if you made it that far.
Yeah, 3 small units of 2 guys or something like that actually reach the Tau line. All 3 of them need to go first. And the one cool thing is a lot of power fists, they double your strength. They get to go first. They're just -1 to hit. That's just their standard rule,
that's right.
Which is I really like that.
So there is a stratagem, of course, for 2 command points you can use to make sure after the first unit that charge goes, you can then attack with a unit. So that might be worth using for some people.
Oh, of course that would be worth using, especially Tau, if they need to like activate to kill like a one-off dude or something. Very important.
Yep.
But we'll get to that. And then so once you're done, you just fight like regular. They removed weapon skill, so you hit on a standard value, which is a lot better because it, nobody being able to hit on 2s in the old edition kind of made combat even worse. Whereas now, Girly Man, he hits on 2s and a few other things. And it's just the same strength and toughness chart and the damage. It's all the same as in the shooting. And the one big thing we didn't talk about in the shooting phase is casualties are removed wherever you want. So when the guy overwatches you, you don't have to remove the closest model. You remove from anywhere. And I feel like that's going to not only speed up the game, it's going to clean up the game. It's a little bit less tactical. I'll give people that. It's a lot less tactical. But it stops people when they deploy from having to put like meat shields and like fiddle around with their units and making sure that this guy's here. It kind of just, you can put your weapons in the front. The guys in the back are going to die. It is what it is. And assault armies can actually reach there. Like my orcs, when I played them, there was games where they wouldn't be able to get out of their deployment zone. Because I would move forward, and then they would just kill, like, the 6 inches of orcs that I moved forward with. And it was, like, frustrating. Whereas now I'll be able to actually get there.
So there's a couple things we forgot to talk about. The first is when you're shooting, you cannot shoot characters. Because I guess now that they can't join units, you can just snipe them out. But any character that's less than 10 wounds, you cannot shoot unless it's the closest model. So that kind of gives them a bit of protection. And then the other thing is in the charge phase, if your character is within 3 inches of a charging model, it can actually pile in 3 inches and join the combat called heroic intervention. So that's pretty cool. I like that rule.
I like that as well, because the characters could kind of get squeezed out of combat, and this is now allowing them to
stand there while... Yeah, they're not going to stand there while like their troops get slaughtered, right?
Well, some of the guard ones might, to be honest.
Well, yeah, you don't want to get your hands dirty with the commissar, just
chill at the back. Hey guys, keep fighting. I'll execute your
doing this. I'm gonna have an order real soon, guys.
So that's about the main rules of the game. Now we'll get on to how to build an army really quickly. A lot of people are really interested in that.
Forgot about morale.
Battle shock or whatever. Morale.
Bravery.
Bravery.
Well, it's a big change because I guess leadership wasn't really a big deal in 7th. Now it
was.
Could be,
it was like a wonder. People called it very binary. You either passed it or you failed it and your unit ran off the board, and it was a big oh shit moment.
Yeah, the thing that made it not as important is all these units and characters that had fearless. So you just join it with stuff, and it's like, well, now everyone's fearless because whatever.
Yeah. So now it's like Battle Shock and AOS. So all the casualties your unit has taken over the whole turn, plus D6. If it's greater than your bravery, you lose that many models and difference in models, which is can be hardcore. But already we're seeing some immunity. So Marines and They Shall Know No Fear is a reroll, which is pretty good. I was playing a 20-unit Hormigaunt army yesterday, and they're immune because of Synapse, which is awesome, by the way. So they have the relic. They weren't going anywhere. So it can be pretty. We're starting to see that.
Oh yeah, I really like that because with commissars, you only lose one dude. Yeah. With the commissar there too, so that's huge. Taking some of those supporting characters are going to matter again.
The orcs have that
and
as well.
The new mob rule, the new mob rule is pretty good.
Yeah, you'll get +1 leadership for every boy in the unit, and then all other orc units within like 6 inches of that unit get to use their leadership if there's a big unit. So they all kind of feed off each other, and they have characters that modify that and give you rerolls. So it's not a big factor. The reason that I like this better is. It kind of sucks when, like if you win a game because Buddy rolled a 10 on his leadership with his Death Star and he ran off the board because he couldn't take a fearless character. That's kind of, like, crappy and it's not fun. Whereas now, as I was telling this to Jason, actually, we were talking, I was like, reason that this is so good now is that, like, when you shoot a unit, and I'm not a veteran, I'm not in the military, I have no idea what I'm talking about. But, so if there's a squad of dudes, and you fire at them and you kill 4, it kind of makes sense that 2 or 3 of them would run away or be removed from the battle. Because they're either dealing with the wounded, dragging the bodies back, doing inventory, running back to maybe tell somebody that they've taken casualties, they need reinforcements. And I feel that this kind of adds that element to the game, where it's not necessarily that the whole unit turns around and runs away, they just lose some of their strength. And so you get benefits for concentrating your firepower, because obviously the more you kill, if there's a 30-man unit, the more that you kill, the more of the guys are going to have to be required to handle the wounded and or take care of that aspect of it. That's how I kind of feel. I guess people kind of look at it as if those extra people died, but
or
ran away, or hid,
yeah,
or
it's
were
as you
wounded.
say. Yeah.
It could be anything thematically that makes sense to you, and of course it would apply differently for different units. Like maybe the orc ones, they got beaten, they got trampled or something. But Astra Militarum's the ones that I've been thinking a lot about, and I was like, they're gonna have, it's gonna like one casualty is gonna slow down a whole squad of dudes to a certain extent. Yeah. I don't think any of us are veterans, so we don't really know from any real life experience. We should say that, but yeah.
I've never been in an actual combat situation. I've trained for it, but I've never been in one.
So, but I think that when you read like was it Sun Tzu's The Art of War, quotes from that, it's the same concept, right? You're better off like wounding than killing because it takes more resources from the enemy, and that's just how I thematically see that phase. Cool. So the other cool thing is I want to talk about transport vehicles. So now you can basically put multiple units, like you can put characters and units in the same transport, even though they're not a unit. Mm-hmm. And so this is the last controversy that I want to talk about. And this is like the actual controversy. And I had it wrong. I posted some stuff on Facebook. I was wrong. But when a vehicle is destroyed, you roll a die for each model within it. And on a 1, a model dies, and you get to choose that casualty. I thought it was on a per unit basis, where if a character, since he's a separate unit, you'd roll for him separately, then you'd roll 5 dice for the 5 so there's 5 tactical marines and a captain. I thought you'd roll 5 dice for the tactical marines, 1 die for the captain. If you get the 1, then the captain is dead, because it's actually removed from the game. But that is not the case. So it is done.
I don't think it was intended to be like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Reese, actually, the way that I just said it is the way that Reese said it, and he redacted that on Facebook as well. So I think that kind of, when he said that on his podcast, I think it kind of skewed the rest of us when we were reading it. So we'll just put all the blame there.
Well, and that goes to show that we shouldn't take everything they say at 100% face value. They have human error as well, even though they've been testing this game for who knows how long.
Yeah. And same thing, like people make brain farts, people say the wrong thing. When you're doing a podcast, it is normal to make mistakes that maybe you don't actually think of. You just say the wrong thing. So that's fine. So with that, so it goes for the whole unit, and I think that's a lot safer for your characters. Now, it makes me not want to put a character alone in a transport, just in case. But because I was thinking before, I was like, man, if it's the way that Reese said it, and I was agreeing with him, and a guy has 5 characters in the Rhino, I'm going to target that Rhino first, right? And hopefully kill one.
But, Rhinos are a lot harder to kill now. Toughness 7,
they are.
10 wounds.
They're not a one-shot thing.
They can repair, return, and still shoot. So, they're a lot tougher. They're a lot more expensive, but they're a lot tougher. The other thing to note about transports, so to disembark, actually, you have to do it before the transport moves.
Yeah, I like that.
So I was picturing, transport goes, then you disembark, then you move, then you run, because you can do everything when you disembark. You can move, advance, shoot, charge. So I was thinking, that'd be sweet, but you have to get out before the transport moves, but then the transport can move and actually charge. So transports can charge. It can charge like everybody else, and so actually you can use your transport to tie down units or to take Overwatch. So it's actually quite tactical now.
Yeah, and the cool thing is most tanks actually get worse as they get wounded, and then the other interesting thing is that, oh man, I just had a brain fart. So they get wounded and they lose like stats. And the other cool thing is that smoke launchers are awesome now. They're -1 to hit. Yeah. So you can, like, as Darren said, you can be like, okay, turn 1, I'm going to bump up all my transports 12 inches, pop smoke, I'm -1 to hit. And if you play Dark Angels, you take the Dark Shroud, and all Dark Angels within, like, 6 inches are another -1 to hit. So now your rhinos are, like,
You're giving away my secrets,
They're,
man.
like, unkillable in the middle of the board. And then in your next turn, you get out 3 away. So you're actually 4 inches away because your base is just out. Then you move your 5 or 6 inches, depending on the unit. And you're like in the guy's zone with plasma guns.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be a thing.
It's cool. I like it. I'm like, even for my chimeras, right? Like, oh, I'm going first. I'm just going to bump them up, pop smoke, -1. Like, -1 to hit's huge, I think. I think that's way better than a cover save or something. It's actually something that you'll use now. Cool. So, Darren, you want to tell us how to make an army?
Yeah, so if this is for match play, obviously. So if you're playing match play, obviously, if you want to play tournament style at 2,000 points, they've already said that's probably what they're going to play. You can take 3 detachments. So the book comes with like 14 or 15 detachments. Basically, if you use detachments, you can make any army you want. There's a detachment for whatever you want, spamming fast attack, spamming troops, spamming elites, whatever. There's a detachment for it. However, this becomes a real kind of side game when you're list building. It's quite fun. You want to maximize your command points, right? So you kind of take all the units that you want to bring. So I want to bring 4 HQs, 6 troops, and blah, 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 blah. And then you try and fit them into these detachments so as to maximize your command points. Because if you put all your units into detachments, you might get command point bonuses. So, for example, the basic detachment is like an allied detachment. So it's called the patrol detachment. You take an HQ and a troop or 2, like 1 to 3 troops, but that doesn't give you any bonus command points.
Well, you start
and
with
on
3,
the other end of that,
right?
You always start with 3.
Yeah.
You always start with 3 if you have a battle force army, and what that means is all your units share the same faction keyword. They have one faction keyword in common, basically, and that makes you battle force. And then, and then the other side of that is the brigade detachment, where that's basically like a massive detachment, like 2 to 3 HQs, 3 to 6 troops, 3 to 6 elites, 3 to 6 fast. Like I tried to make the other one the other day. It's hard to fit into 2,000 points, but you get 9 extra command points for doing that.
Wow.
So more than likely, people are going to end up with 6 command points. So they're going to get their 3. Then they're going to get +3 with a battalion detachment, or they'll get +1s with HQ, elites, HQ, fast attacks, blah, blah, blah. A Lord of War you can throw in there for an extra command point.
Well, it's only if you take 3 Lord of Wars. The solo one doesn't give you a command point, does it?
The solo one doesn't give you one, yeah.
And there's actually some detachments that give you negative command points.
Well, there's just one. The one at the bottom.
It's all of them. It has every choice in it.
Yeah, it lets you spam 1 unit or model of a particular force org slot, and then you get -1 command points for doing that. So that's kind of cool. But yeah.
And it should be said too that by faction, like all Marines are one faction now.
Yeah.
So you can use. They have to share one faction keyword in common. So most units have. So like a Marine will have Imperial, then they'll have Adeptus Astartes, then they'll have their chapter. So they have 3 faction keywords. So all the Imperial armies have Imperial as their main faction. So you can put anybody in any detachment, basically. At this time, there's not a lot of benefit right now to sticking to like Ultramarines or whatever, other than a few buffs. So, but I expect that to change. Too. Yeah, I expect that to change once the codexes come out. But so yeah, it's like Azrael buffs Dark Angels and Samael only buffs Ravenwing. So you can always see some of that coming in, but yeah, you can literally play whatever you want.
That. Like I kind of was hoping that you wouldn't be able to put Ultramarines and Dark Angels in the same detachment. Personally.
Yeah, well, right now you can. It doesn't give you any benefits, and probably once the codexes are out, it's going to be even less beneficial. Like, it'll be more beneficial to stick to your chapter, but for now, it's just like everyone can play everything.
Yeah, well, they blew up Cadia, man. You know, everyone's got to work together right now. We got to rebuild the Imperium, make it great again.
Yeah. Make it just harm the environment and pull out of the Paris Accords at a will, because it's not like everybody needs to breathe. Oh my god. But no, it's I think so. We've talked a lot about these command points, but what do they give you? Like, why would I want 9 command points?
So right now, you don't get a lot for it. There's only 3, other than some mission-specific ones in the narrative side. You only have 3 things you can spend command points on. For 1 command point, you can re-roll a single dice, which is like Fate Weaver re-roll. You can use that once per phase, so that's pretty good.
Is it phase or turn?
That's probably enough per phase, so that's probably enough to use your command points on, to be honest. And then for 2 command points, you can do what we said. You can have one of your models interrupt the fight order. That's for 2 command points. And then the other 2 command point one is automatically pass a morale test.
Yeah.
Which might be key at like the end of the game.
And you can just spend these at any time, right? There's no like you don't have to really you have to declare what the start of phase.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to reroll something, then you just do it right there. If you want to reroll a morale test, pass a morale test, you have to say it before. Obviously, you take the test.
Before you take the test. That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? So before you even know that you're going to fail it, you have to say, well, I'm going to re-roll it if it fails?
No, you automatically pass it. So you kind of so people are saying, well, you
okay.
Yeah, so you keep 2 to the end of the game, like that when you really need to pass a morale, you don't even risk failing it. You just say, I pass this, and spend your 2 points.
2 points spent. Yeah.
Or like that one turn when the guy kills like 25 of your orc boys out of 30, and they're kind of the forward unit, and you have a claw and some dudes, and they're near, like, let's say, like a Devastator unit or something. You'd like, they're going to auto pass, because otherwise they're going to lose their whole unit automatically. Yep. And then so they auto pass, and then you can charge it and kill a unit.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Also, Fate Weaver Reroll obviously has lots of benefits that previously was only known by Zinch players. But like, if you're charging, you roll a 6 and a 1, and you need a 6 and a 4. Like, you can reroll the 4 or the 1, and stuff like that. So
yeah, like you do D3 mortal wounds to a Night Titan. You need to do 2. You have a reroll now. He's gone. I think that adds a lot of cool elements, and like
so in our game last night we complete.
Sorry,
so last night in our game we completely forgot to use command points.
That's why I ordered the dice, man. That's why I'm going to the ETC. I was like, I want counters on the board.
Yeah,
I want to be able to be like, I'm using my command points, and I bought 2 sets so I can actually put them out for my opponent as well, so we keep track, because that would be terrible.
That's so nice of you. That's best sport material right there.
It is, but it's also like you could lose a tournament on the fact that your opponent said that he has 2 command points. And maybe he forgot. I'm not saying it's malicious, but if you're not counting, nobody knows, right?
That's right. That's why I always write down things on a separate piece of paper, spells, all that stuff. I'm so glad I don't have to do that as much anymore.
And it's a completely new mechanic, so like it's so easy to forget, especially right at the beginning. So
yeah.
But as you said, it seems simple, but I think that's actually game breaking. Those things, I think they're huge, and you pay a price for them. Like 9 of them from the brigade detachment. That's a lot of... Like, I did an Astra Militarum army, and I was only able to take a brigade detachment. I took all the minimums, and that was 2,000 points.
Yeah, it's a lot of points to fill that detachment. I guess we'll see when the codexes come out. We're expecting that there will be more things to spend command points on that are faction-specific, but I don't know. I don't know that for
Even
sure.
if there isn't, I don't think you need to. And some of that reroll can be used pre-game as well, right?
Like for what?
Like I thought you could
turn order or something?
Turn order, deployment order, table side.
I don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, that one I'm not on board with.
Yeah, I think it's not meant to be like that yet.
Okay, I could be wrong. I thought that you could, but anyway.
Like seize roll, re-roll.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up.
So that's spending a command point.
Yeah, I'm spending a command point before the game. I don't know. We'll confirm that for the next episode. It's not a big deal. It's so new right now, but anyway, command points are I think are well worth it. I'm 100% trying to get like at least. I thought about it for my Astra Militarum, and I was like, I want at least 6 because just for the rerolls for my basilisks, because basilisks roll 2d6 and you pick the highest for shots. But if you have a reroll and you can reroll the lowest one, you almost have no risk to doing that, right? So if you roll like a 4 to 3, normally you wouldn't reroll. Like so you get a 4 to 3, you can't reroll that, but I would reroll the 3 just to see a chance for a 5 and 6 if I had like my 14 command points, because it could be really good. Like 6 shots.
That could make a difference.
Depends on what you have to kill. So on missions, they changed it so that now you deploy. How do you deploy now, Darren?
So if you're playing straight out of the rulebook, a lot of the missions you pick how you want to deploy, and there's 3 new deployments that are kind of like the other ones, but like a little bit curved. So like yesterday we were playing Relic. It says right there, whoever wins the roll off for deployment gets to pick side and can choose what deployment they want. And this is after terrain and everything's been set up, so it can be quite strategic if you play like that. And then in terms of deployment, it's just like AOS, so you alternate deployment. Unit. It's unclear now whether a unit in a transport deploys as 1 or if that's 2. It doesn't also say that keeping things in deep strike counts as a deployment, so it's not as
it does for
clear
pods,
as
though.
an AOS.
It does for pods. It specifically says in the pod entry that you deploy it in its unit in orbit.
Yeah. So I think that if it's embarked, it counts as 1 for the sake of deployment, because then after that, then they're treated as two separate units.
I think so.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, so that's kind of how we played it. And then whoever deploys finishes first gets to choose first or second turn, and then the other person can seize. So that's kind of how those missions work out. But yeah, you get to choose what deployment type you want, which is pretty cool.
I like that a lot, that you get to know. Before you deploy your army, you can be like, if I put all my dudes in transports, that cuts me back 9 drops, I get to go first. I think that's huge. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's certainly something that comes in AOS, right? Like, so you count how many drops your opponent has, and you count how many drops you have, and if you have that flexibility, you could leave them out if that's important to you to have more drops or less drops, or yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you might be like, well, this character, he's cheap, he gives me this little shitty ability. Is he actually worth taking? Because it's a drop now, too, right? Or you just say, screw it, I'm going MSU, I'm going to take 1,000 drops, and I don't actually care. You could do that as well.
Yeah.
And but then you plan on going second, and so you deploy in a fashion that you're guaranteed to go second. You take maybe a lot more long range guns. I have a lot of Astra Militarum on my brain, so you put a lot of Basilisks in the corners and things like that, and you dare your opponent, give me first turn, right?
We're thinking very, very similar.
I like the Basilisk. Normally, now that templates are gone, a lot of weapons with the D6, it's like D6 instead of a template. It's actually not worth it because you still have to roll the hit. So it's like, oh, D6, I get a 4, I actually hit you twice. But I think the thing that sets the Basilisk apart is that you get to roll the 2D6 and pick the highest, and they're only 100 points.
Right.
So I like that a lot. And then there's the Master of the Fleet, the Master of Ordnance, which gets a once per game like kick-ass template, and he gives reroll 1s to Basilisks and Wyverns within 3 inches, I believe, or 6.
Yep. So he just hangs out back there doing his thing.
Yeah, which I like. I like that a lot, and he's cheap too. I believe he's under 60 points. So.
It's not expensive.
Yeah, it's fun. It's been fun kind of relearning armies that you formerly knew a lot about, and kind of what the synergies are and what buffs what, and because there's a lot like AOS now, right? Like nothing can join anything else, so it's all about buffs and area buffs, right? So it's interesting just trying to figure out how all that works.
And the buffs are very specific, and that's what I like about them, is that it's like Azrael specifically says Dark Angels, so that's it.
Yep.
If you're taking Azrael and you're playing Ultramarines, it's like, why? It doesn't, there's no benefit.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But if you're taking Azrael, you almost want to take as many Dark Angels as you can because you want to bubble that 4+ invul save.
Yes, sir.
So how do invul saves work?
Yeah, so invul saves basically are they're immune to the armor pen. So you get to choose if you want to take your armor save or your invul save. And so that's it. It's just not modified by armor pen.
Yeah, so it's not in addition to, it's nothing special. That's it.
No,
and
so it's not like AOS where you get multiples.
And mortal wounds go right through it.
Yep.
Which is nasty.
Yeah, that's ooh.
That's why it's like
right now. Yeah, right now there are not a lot of models that have that kind of mortal wound save, like the 5+ mortal wound. So Nurgle has it, disgustingly resilient. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any others, but I remember reading a few other factions that had some units that have this sort of feel no pain against mortal wounds, which is obviously very strong.
Well, and it's amazing how much a 5+ save against mortal wounds actually can be a big deal after playing Age of Sigmar.
Dude.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, Death Army, man. Death. I'm all about the 5+ feel no pain.
deathless minions. I hate it so much.
Oh, they're horrible, man. I had Death Army take out a Maw Crusher with one spell. Just,
Ugh.
Maw Crusher.
So it's funny. Dan and I are both doing Astra Militarum. Dan, what's your take on them so far? Do you think they're a powerhouse, or what's your initial thoughts? I know it's early. We like what we say now means very little in the grand scheme of things, but what's your take on them?
Yep, it is early on, and I'm scanning things, and I'm seeing. I think Astra Militarum is going to be one of the more versatile factions in the game right now. They've got a lot of different units and a lot of different equipment that can really tip things around. The cost of the actual models has gone down quite a bit, to where I think they're going to be one of the armies with a lot of wounds that you're going to have to dig through and a lot of shots. They might not be the strongest shots, but it's going to be a lot of shooting that you're going to have to go through.
Yeah, that's funny that you said that, because I think most armies went up in points cost, but yeah, all the tanks went down in cost almost. But So
yeah, I think Guard are going to be strong because they have two things. One is they have large numbers of bodies for bubble wrapping and for screening.
Yep.
And secondly, they have vehicles, and vehicles have gotten a lot harder to kill now. So yeah, and to kill, like, I couldn't even kill a freaking Hive Tyrant yesterday. Like, you need your las cannons and your melta guns to kill those things. And so how many of those things are you going to need to kill like 6 lemon wrist tanks? Like, it's gonna, it's hard.
9 chimeras, man. I had 9 chimeras in my list, my brigade 2,000 point list. It's 9 chimeras, 2 basilisks, 2 wyverns, and a mana core.
Oh, nice. Very armor.
That's a lot of wounds to go through at high toughness.
3 armored sentinels. Yep. Yeah, and they all have 3+ saves. It moves. I can pop smoke. I can shoot you if you hide with my artillery. My artillery has like long range, so I can sit them back in the corners. I just took regular guardsman squads with plasma guns and heavy bolters, because heavy bolters are 5 points, and you're -1 to hit if you move with heavy weapons. So I said, screw it, I'll put them in there.
It's nice that you say plasma too, because I literally just built 10 plasma guys for the Imperial Guard, like while we're doing this whole podcast.
Yeah, the plasma is awesome now. The cool thing about plasma is you get to pick 2 different profiles. One which is like you die on a 1 if you rolled a hit, and one of them where you don't, and it's a lot safer. And I kind of like that, right? Like, it was always kind of stupid that, like, why would you carry a gun that has significant odds to kill you? Now, I could see, cranking it up, like, when you're, like, doing a last stand, like, cranking it up to max and just going ham, but it's just a lot more sensible now.
Yep.
I agree with that.
So it's cool, and I agree. I think I need more melta guns and more las cannons, but the thing is, las cannons are, like, 20 points minimum.
They're expensive, man. They're expensive.
Well, that's 25 for Marines. That's the thing. Guardsmen pay less for heavy weapons because their ballistic skill is less.
And for heavy bolters, it seems. It's 10 for me, man. Shit.
Yeah, but you hit on 3s, right? You're getting 2 hits. We're getting 1.5, right?
And what's your save?
I got to pay 2 points for my twin link bolter on my bikes now.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yep, I know. As me and a buddy of mine who was working on his Space Marine list, and he's like, "Oh, my list is completely wrong." And I'm like, "Why? I have to pay 2 points for the Storm Bolter on the Rhinos." I'm like, "Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to start over too. Crap."
Yeah, there are problems with the way that they've written it. Is that things don't include? So it'll say in the entry, Chimera comes with a multi-laser and a heavy bolter, and that's not the best example, but I'm going to go with it anyway. And then when you get in the back, it's like a Chimera costs 70 points, but you still have to pay for the multi-laser and the heavy bolter separate.
Yeah, it would have been better if they said, other than for the name characters, which you don't add cost to, if they had said, you can buy this for this vehicle, because that's how it works with the points, right? Like, you just pay for the weapon you want, and that's it. You don't have to buy one and then replace it. Yeah, so in the actual data sheet, they should have just said, the Chimera can be equipped with all this, you pick what you want and pay for it. Basically, that's what they should have said.
They worded it because of there's 2 types of points now, and so they worded it so that when you buy it, you got it default with guns for the other. What's the other style of points called?
The power level.
Power level. So that way you don't have to worry about weapons. You can just take it. But it does make sense. Yeah, you buy the chassis and then you buy the guns for it. It's going to take a while to get. I think it's going to take a long time to get used to. And once like an app or software comes out that does the math for you, I think it'll be a lot better. And like,
just forget it.
They are halfway done with the Battle Scribe app for 8th edition already.
Sick. Now, do I have to? It's kind of weird because you have to buy some of those weapons. If it says it has,
you have to buy the ones that it comes with.
You have to buy the ones it comes with.
You have to buy all the weapons and the upgrades that a Tech Marine is supposed to have.
Yep. So I have to pay my 2 points for my bolters on my bikes.
I was like, why can't I be like Ghetto Guardsman and just not put guns on my chimeras?
these are just armor boxes with no fighting whatsoever.
Yeah, they just drive at enemy formations, like because Armageddon, like my shit's all Steel Legion, so they just pumped out the half complete chimeras out of the factory and just drove over the hill.
It's like the A team made it. They forgot to put weapons on it.
Well, you weld them together.
It's cool.
Weld 1,000 chimeras in a line together, turn them all on, and put bricks on the pedals, and just watch the orcs die.
So trust me. Like a couple of nights ago, I was making lists. I actually tried to look it up to see if there was an option to not buy that Stormbolter on the Rhino, for example, but there isn't.
That's too bad. Now, is there any other niche rules you think we missed, or any cool units that you guys have come across? One thing that I've come across is Night Titans seem like they're going to be a thing that you have to plan for. And I'm kind of giving people a heads up, like, if you're building a list, plan to be able to kill a Night Titan, a Leeming Russ, something big, with like 4 Meltaguns or a couple las cannons, because if not, it seems like 3 Knights are going to run through your army.
Yeah, knights look good, but that's partly because people have not figured out their own armies yet. I was just looking at it the other day, and actually, so my current list has 2 vet squads with 6 Meltaguns in pods. That can take a knight out if you get a little bit lucky.
Well, you don't have to take them out, just cripple them, right? And use your rerolls to reroll the d6 damage. If you roll a 1, I'm going to reroll that.
So if you notice, all the vehicles that have the kind of decreasing effectiveness with wounds, they're all fine until they get to half. So you have to at least be able to take out something halfway down for it to drop even 1 tier. So I'm looking at that Spartan laser destroyer with like 3d6 damage. I'm like, oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's Forge World. I don't know. You don't mind. It'll be interesting, as I have 2.
So Dan,
yes.
So why don't I get you on this competition? How many wounds? So keeping in mind the Spartan has 20 wounds. How many wounds do you think? And a knight has 24 wounds. How many wounds do you think the Mastodon is going to have? You can join the competition.
The Mastodon. Ooh, that is a big, beefy vehicle. Okay, so knight has 20, 24.
Stomp has 40.
So I think
Stomp has 40.
The Lord of Skulls, I want to say has 20-something, 26, 28, around there.
28,
24?
28, yeah.
Yeah, it's around there.
Mastodon. I think I'm going to say 28.
28?
I'm thinking 32. 32.
Yeah, maybe I'm lowballing it.
My guess is 40.
It's not a possible.
It's not an orc.
It's not a Stampa, though.
It's not a Stampa. And then the fluff-wise, right, it's not a Stampa. But you never know, it's Forge World. So as I said before, it could be 300 points or it could be 3,000 points. That's the one thing I find about Forge World is the stuff's either like really good or really terrible. So
yeah.
There's no like half measures there. There's no balance. Cool. So I think that should give you guys out there appreciation for the new edition. Those of you that are listening through, and it'll reconfirm as you're having your test games our thoughts on things. There's lots of cool tidbits, and you just got to read through them all. And so if you want to know what's in the books, check out Darren's videos on the CanHammer YouTube channel, and it'll be all that. So we're going to move on to Q&A. We don't have a lot because I also forgot to post, but the first thing we got is we have an email coming to us all the way from Ruben from Mexico. So I'm just going to pull it up here quickly. He basically says that he is a big fan of the show, and he started playing Dark Angels thanks to our Super Friends battle reports. He's having a 7th edition closure tournament for 1,500 points. I think this is after the tournament. I got delayed. I'm sorry, Ruben. I forgot you in the last show notes. And we did like 2 Age of Sigmar shows. And since this question was 40K, I put it in the 40K kind of like folder. So we're getting to it a bit late, so I'm assuming that the tournament's already done, as 7th edition is no longer with us. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy. And so we can't pimp your Super Friends list, but I still wanted to give you a shout and say thanks for saying that you follow the podcast and that you support us, and it's good to know. So shout out, Ruben in Mexico.
Appreciate. I've been here a whole hour and 48 minutes, and I just really appreciate you supporting us as well.
Yeah, so good. Next one is we got an email from Jeff. Now this one's kind of a two-part. It starts off basically, he's talking about, do you think that this edition is going to be an arm's length edition or like a shooting or killing firepower type edition? What do you think? That's
firepower.
Firepower?
Yep, sure. Shots are going to be it.
Yes, I think it's going to be pretty shooty heavy. So it's kind of like what AOS is becoming.
Now, I was talking to Logan about this, and he did a few test games with his Nurgle, and he was just like, yeah, they don't kill much, but they just don't die. And so I think that's what he meant by Jeff's question there about the arm's reach, is that they just kind of stay alive on the board, score objectives, and you don't really have to kill. But I kind of think you're going to have to kill in this edition. For sure.
Oh, it's going to be bloody. It's going to be bloody.
Next question.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like, so yesterday I was playing against Tyranids, and he picked up the relic with some Hormagaunts, and I didn't have in 1,000 points. I just didn't have enough to kill that many Hormagaunts, and they weren't running because of Synapse. So, like, I just couldn't win because I couldn't get the relic off of them.
Yeah, so you need to be able to take those out.
Plus, I kind of got tabled.
Yeah,
plus, that Exocrine kind of kicked my ass.
I think if you go too much for survivability and objective placement, you're going to get bubbled out with a lot of, like that's all I need to do is grab the relic with my orcs, teleport 30 boys into your grill. You're going to kill them. It's fine, but you're stuck back away. I back up. I do it again. The game's over, right? So you need to be able to reach out there, get things. I think you're going to need mobility. I think you're going to see Space Marine players with 1 or 2 drop pods. I think you're going to see Orc players with a Weird Boy to teleport a unit. I think you need that mobility, and I think if you don't take tanks, if you don't take stuff that can reach out there and grab objectives or get in the enemy's grill, like a huge thing that you're not going to get right away, and it's going to throw you off, because it throws me off, is, like as we said earlier, tanks are going to charge you. And they're going to tie you up. And yes, you can retreat. There's like people online are saying, well, you can't really block people anymore. But when you retreat, you're not shooting and you're not charging. So I'm essentially, if I charge 9 different units with 9 chimeras, and let's say you're Tau, you then have to retreat away from me. Yeah, you can move on to objectives. You're not getting killed, but you're not doing anything back. Really, that much. Some units can retreat, charge, and shoot, like Storm Surges and Night Titans. But for the most part, it's gonna be kind of weird that way. So you're gonna need to be able to pop those things and clear them and just take them out. I hope I didn't babble too much there. Okay, so the next question, the next part of it. Oops, I scrolled the wrong way. The next part. Darren, you have this one up?
No. 1,000 questions about what we like about 8th.
Oh no, is 8th? It's probably impossible to tell. I think that's it. Okay, yeah, and then so a lot of people have emailed and asked in Facebook about what we think of 8th, and I think we talked about it, but I think we can go over it. Dan, do you like it? What's your initial thoughts on it?
I love 8th edition. I love the fact that I'm not going to be going up against source material from 2012 or 2010. I love that everyone is being started on the same footing. I love how streamlined it is. Honestly, as much as I was raw 7th, because that was my introductory edition. That's the only edition that I know. I think that 8th is definitely going to be a lot better. Just by all the material that I'm reading. So I'm really excited.
Darren, so just because this is like from I think 13 different people that just asked what we thought of it. So what do you think of it, Darren?
I think it's great. I think it's exciting because it's almost like learning a new game, but with I don't have to buy new models. I've made a firm vow to myself I'm not buying any new models. I'm just going to make lists with the models that I have for now and maybe like just change a few weapons or something. So I'm really looking forward to rediscovering the armies that have kind of languished on the side for a little while. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I already played 1 game and I got 2 this week, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm shifting towards. I love it. I love the reset. That's like when Dan said that I'm not playing with 2010 source material. That resonates with me. I like the reset. Some things that they reset are going to be crappier. Some are going to be better. I hope that they fix that through time. But it's awesome to be able to like actually look at, because I have a huge painted orc army. It's not huge. It's like 2,000 points, but in the 5th edition. But I haven't been able to play it in like 2 editions, and now I can. And it's like my Astra Militarum, same thing. Like they haven't been good for so long, and now I feel like they're playable. Like I don't care if they're tournament winning, but like I was never a flavor of the month guy until 7th edition. 7th edition, I was definitely a flavor of the month guy because you had to be. Like you could be the best player in the world. If you're not playing the top 5 books, you're out of the tournament. And so, but now I feel like I could take my Astra Militarum. I might not win. I don't know. Like they could be the most broken army. I don't actually know, but I can compete.
We will win.
Right?
We
like,
will win.
Yeah. It just feels like everything's playable, and I like that. Which and it's nice. As much as like we love 7th and all that, it just needed to change because like you'd go to like a CanHammer team tournament and a lot of the lists were the samey. And once an edition gets cracked and figured out, I bet you GW sees their sales drop because like everybody's like right now nobody knows that like Rough Riders could be garbage. They could be amazing. Nope, like we don't really know.
They won't be. They're going to be money, man.
You think so?
They're going to be money, man. I'm not building these things for them to sit on a shelf. They are going to be good.
Okay, I hope so. I have a unit of 5 converted up as well, but I feel the same way.
I get your point, though. I get your point.
But we don't know. But like we knew in 7th edition, you don't take that. Like it was funny when Josh lost his Wraith Knight to 30 Rough Riders. Like everybody just laughed. It was like a joke. But if you did that now, nobody would laugh. They'd be like, "Oh, interesting, right?" And I like that.
Yeah.
How many more writers did they put?
And it's just kind of interesting that like put the Eldar down for a while, put the demons down, and just try the armies that have collected dust for so long. Yeah, so it's good. I really like it. Now I've gotten a couple army specific questions. One of them is, what do you guys think of Blood Angels? Do we think they're going to be competitive because they've been crappy in 7th?
I think they're going to be as good as Marines are right now, which is, in my opinion, not super good because we're lacking a lot of the flavor that we used to have. I don't mean free transports. I mean, like, the difference. There's no difference between all the chapters right now, basically. Yeah. I mean, there's very little difference. I think Blood Angel should be good because they have access to a lot of dreads. Death Company should be strong. I think they'll be decent. I just think that the Marines as a whole lack a little bit of vim, a little bit of punch, and a little bit of flavor right now.
They're very vanilla right now, and I think that I agree. I think that's going to hurt them in the startup, but once they get some chapter-specific stuff, I think that you're going to see them bounce a little bit up in the popularity scale again.
Yeah, like I'm a little bit biased, but actually I think probably Ravenwing have the best interfaction synergy at the moment in terms of what you can build right now out of the book. Well, they're the only bikers that have Jink. They have, the Dark Shroud is very synergistic with how they like to play. Their characters, like Sammy, it gives all Dark Angel Ravenwing rerolls. So they have a lot of built-in synergy out of the gate. The Dark Talon is the bomb now, I think. So I think Ravenwing's looking good right now. Plasma Talons are still good, and Corvus Hammers and all that stuff. But because just reading through all the other kind of Space Marine chapters, other than characters, there's nothing else going for Space Marines right now. You're just playing vanilla. Like, I'm making my Lions Blade list, and it's just a Space Marine list, So, yeah.
So I got another weird one. It's kind of a question. So allies are gone now.
Yep.
Yeah. Kinda, not really.
Allies outside of your own faction.
Yes.
Like outside of Imperium and whatever.
So right now you have purist allies. You have the actual allies you're supposed to have.
Yeah. So like Eldar. There's 3 kinds of Eldar. That's it. Well, it's 4 if you count Ynnari, but I don't.
They're not real.
Ynnari haven't changed at all. They're still strong. The Pain from Death did not change at all, and every faction can be Ynnari, so they're actually just as strong as they were before. Next
question. Is it worth buying the the compendiums. Yeah, that's what is it worth buying?
The indexes?
They said the new
Indexes.
books, but I think they mean the indexes, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, unless you're going to illegally get the information somewhere else. I mean.
So Dan, sorry?
So when they first announced the different things you could buy, the 5 indexes in the box, immediately I contacted one of the local store owners, and I'm like, I want it all. I want all of it. Buy. Put me down. But as some information has gotten leaked, I've started to get a little bit nervous, and because now we have that new Primaris grav tank, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to be the indexes at all. So that means the indexes eventually will be obsolete in some form, and they'll be replaced by a codex or by online data.
Yeah, that was my point. I answered this person because it was around the pre-order. It's a few days old. What I said is I bought all of them, but I also run a tournament in August coming up, and I have a podcast, and I'm team captain for the ETC team. So when I'm sitting on the airplane or when I'm in Spain, I need those books for quick reference. Yep. But I was like, for somebody that's not in that position, I would buy the one book that you may need for the army that you're going to play this edition, just as a quick reference when you're playing games, and I wouldn't buy them all for the sake of buying them. Because the same thing happened in Sigmar. They all came out, and a lot of them are out of date now. They still kind of work for 90% of them, but there are War Scrolls that in Age of Sigmar that are now different, and the wrong one is in. So if you're using those books, you're using actually a few of the wrong rules. And that came up at a tournament. I forget what the model was. It might have been like a Vampire Lord on a Terrorgeist. They have different rules in the compendium books or the index than it does in the app. So I would just say wait for the app to come out and use the app. That's what I'm for my tournaments. The app trumps books, I feel.
I agree with that absolutely. And that's the only reason that I've got all the indexes coming is because I'm running a tournament in a month and a half.
Yeah, and if you have the disposable income, they're actually reasonably priced for the amount of rules in them. But yeah, if you're tight on money right now,
$25 is a really good price.
Yeah, because they're not that much more in Canadian. I think they're 30 Canadian or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know the Space Marine Codex, these are bigger. The indexes are about the same size as the Space Marine Codex, and the Space Marine Codex is $50.
But if you actually look at it compared to Sigmar, what's in the index is going to be free on the GW website anyway.
Yep.
But as I said, if you want to study up and you're really competitive, it's probably worth it. But you don't have to, so definitely don't. Should you buy 2 of the starter sets or just 1?
Originally I was going to get the starter set mostly for the rulebook and for the quick reference. The Primaris models, they looked really good. I got to see them at a game store, and once I saw them, I backed out of getting the box set personally, and that's just the hobby side of me.
Yeah. So my opinion is you buy 1, and what you do with that 1 set is you use it, and then if you want to play like Primaris Marines, you're better off, in my opinion, to buy the box sets when they come out, because they'll have more options and more weapons, and it'll be and they'll look a little bit better. I know that the starter set looks great, but I would definitely buy 1 to none. If you play those armies, if you have a Chaos Army and you play Space Marines like myself, I have Girly Man and I have an Ultramarines army and I have a Dark Angels army. So I'm going to use those Primaris Marines. I'm probably going to add more in. But yeah, I don't think you need more than 1.
But I would agree with that. And I mean, eventually these are going to be like the Dark Vengeance set, and not a lot of people are buying those the last year.
Yeah, they kind of went out of fashion quickly. The reason that I for sure wanted 1 was just for the characters, because I found that sometimes they don't re-release those. And so I still have in Ziploc bags, back when the fantasy starter set, Blood Island, I have in the Ziploc bag the character models, but I sold all the troops.
Okay, that makes sense.
Time. Yeah, so just because you might never get that, and it might be just something that you want. So if I play Nurgle, I might want that one piece. I thought it would be cool.
That's fair.
So that's it for questions. We did lose Darren, but we'll just wrap up the show. So thanks for listening, guys. For feedback, you can email us, canhammer.podcast@gmail.com. You go to canhammer.ca for more information. You can visit youtube.com/canhammer and patreon.com/canhammer. I want to thank you, Dan, for coming on. It was a great show.
Thank you. I really appreciate being on, and please check out Slaughterhouse GT. We come up in a month and a half, and would love to have you guys there.
Yeah, and support. It's one of the first 8th edition GTs around, I think, right?
One of the first 8th edition GTs in the world. It's awesome.
Sick. So you guys are right on there. You're beating Capital City by like a month. So,
Uh huh.
so thanks for listening, guys, and have a good one.